Nerd Avengers, it is Josh, and I wanted to talk about the Bad Batch Episode 1, breaking down some of the cool things that were in Episode 1, but also speculating about what will be coming in the Bad Batch Episode 2, which is coming right around the corner, and then also just what to expect for the rest of the season. And I just want to start off by saying I thought the Bad Batch Episode 1 was excellent. It is a very well-paced, very pithy episode, okay? A lot of stuff happens in the episode in a sort of short amount of time as far as the galaxy is concerned. We sort of open during Order 66, and the Bad Batch is helping out Caleb Dune and his master. And I will say, as someone that is a big fan of the Kanan comic book, The Last Padawan, and it has like a very different, version from what we saw in the Bad Batch, I am a little bit confused about the canon changes there. I mean, I won't lie to you. I loved that comic book and I loved that version of it. And this is the second time that Dave Filoni animated Star Wars has ignored source material, or rather not source material, but canon material, right? We were told by Star Wars that everything was canon, and yet, the Ahsoka novel more or less is ignored or changed for the Clone Wars Season 7, and for the Bad Batch, this comic book is ignored and changed as well. So not the worst thing in the world, but I did find it very weird. Now, the way it's handled in the show is pretty freaking excellent. It sort of just takes the story from the comics and injects the Bad Batch into it, and you have a situation where Hunter and Crosshair have a debate, and I love how this is sort of established right away, that Crosshair is like good soldier, follow orders, inhibitor chip kind of guy, and Hunter is more free thinking, and he's not accepting what is happening when Order 66 goes on. He can't understand why they would want to cut down the Jedi, right? While Crosshairs is just like, good soldiers follow orders. Of course, leads to a situation where Caleb Dune runs away, and Hunter sort of lies to everybody saying that he killed the Padawan. It is reported that Order 66 was filled out. We find out later in the episode that likely Crosshair himself files a report with the now Empire saying that he did not think that the child was killed and that the child was actually let to go away. And the episode really wastes no time in taking the clones, or the Bad Batch, back to Kamino, where they have not been in a long, long time, but immediately they notice a ton of different things. There are Capitol guards there. It's now the Empire. Things have just totally changed, and the Jedi have been being wiped out. This is a very, very interesting change of events. And then Tarkin shows up to basically tell the Kaminoans that he's here to assess the value of the clones, and that he thinks a conscripted army, which we know he eventually will do with the stormtroopers, is more efficient at half the cost of clones. And so there's this whole element of Tarkin coming in and even, testing out the clones and seeing what's going on there. He, of course, tests the Bad Batch with live rounds, understanding that they have these mutations, and then he sends them on a mission to sort of test their loyalty. He's watching them with a probe droid the whole time, and we get another familiar face in Saw Gerrera, and the clones and the Bad Batch realizing that the sort of separatists or insurgents are now just women, children, and civilians that do not want to join the Empire. At this point, Hunter is pretty much like, nah, this is bad. We can't do this. While again, Crosshair is still kind of wanting to be loyal to the Empire. Now, back at the station, we find out after this that Crosshair's inhibitor chip was still executing Order 66, but not like at a strong enough level to totally overtake his consciousness. So they adjust that, ramping up the Order 66 of Crosshair. This is after they go back to try to save Omega after understanding that she is a clone, which is a whole nother side of the first episode that we'll get into in a second. But in general, you come to a place in the story where Crosshair is ratcheted up as far as his inhibitor chip goes, so that he then follows the orders even more, and he is going to be the main person hunting down the Bad Batch for the duration of the season. This was something that was previewed with toy leaks. We didn't quite understand why or how this would happen. Now we understand it. It has to do with the inhibitor chips. Very, very cool. And on that note, I found it really interesting that while they were in the prison, Omega comforts Crosshair and tells him she knows that it's not his fault. This to me hints at some kind of either telepathy or force-like ability, as we do find out that she, like the rest of the Bad Batch, is a mutated and altered clone. And the big sort of setup for the end of the show is the fact that Hunter, after what he saw with Caleb Dune and being unable to help him from Order 66 and saving his master and just seeing the evil of the Empire, he is convinced that he's going to protect the Omega character. He's not going to let the same thing happen to Caleb as happened to Omega. Omega, warns Hunter that it's not safe, that you can't trust Tarkin. Essentially, he realizes they're probably going to try to shut the clones down. And Omega seems to be very important for whatever reason, okay? The child likely has some characteristics that are very important for the Empire, as she was created on Kamino, likely, is an altered clone, but seemingly has significance other than like battle readiness as compared to the rest of the 99. Some people think that this could be a potential vessel for Palpatine, or something Palpatine was doing in addition to the Jango clones to try to decipher the ability to clone Force sensitives or something like that. The episode ends as the Bad Batch and Omega make an escape from the Empire and Crosshair, and now Crosshair is going to be hunting them down, and they are going to try to find someone to help them, which they admit is a pretty short list of people. And this sets up in episode 2 where they will likely be going to some contact, some old friend, somebody that they knew from the past, to get some help and find out more of what is going on during this time period in the galaxy. Now, what's really cool about the setting is that as Order 66 is just beginning, we're now going to be able to get a look at all kinds of different settings around the galaxy and how different planets, groups of people are dealing with the Empire, with the formation of the Empire and, the whole squashing of freedoms and a lot of different interesting things going on. We're going to be able to see all of that through the lens of the Bad Batch as they are on the run and realizing how dark and evil the Empire is. Okay, so this is going to be really, really cool. Now, there are a couple of different options for people that they could meet in episode 2. I think Boba Fett could be one of those options. I think you could see other bounty hunters. I mean, we know Fennec Shand is set to show up in the show. She could replace Crosshair as a sharpshooter. And what if we saw some other familiar faces from The Mandalorian, as we do know Filoni is carrying some of these characters into his Filoniverse in live action. As far as leaks or rumors for what is to come in episode 2 or beyond that, we've heard that Grogu may well be in the show. There are rumors that Mace Windu could be in the show, but stuff like that seems really wild and doesn't seem to really connect much to the Bad Batch specifically. The only other thing I can think of was a new Black Series toy leak that seems to imply that a Vice Admiral Rampart will be a new villain showcased in the Bad Batch, but again, not a lot of reference there on what that could mean. I think Fennec Shand, Boba Fett, or a different character connected to maybe the clones could be a safe bet here. I mean, the Bad Batch would have a lot of connections to clones, and having done all kinds of other missions, they likely have run into other bounty hunters and characters like that as well. So we did hear from the producers that a lot of familiar faces will be shown throughout the Bad Batch series, and so there's a whole bunch of other cool clones or cool people that could pop up as a contact for the Bad Batch. We could also see Tarkin interacting with Vader or the Emperor in these sort of early moments of the Empire and thinking about stormtroopers versus clones. There could be some ties to the Emperor's overall plan, as that seems to be a plot thread that is moving through all of the new Star Wars content, taking us in to the Rise of Skywalker. So perhaps some of that kind of stuff being built out as well could be very interesting. I mean, there's just so much possibility to explore this very interesting time in the canon here. And again, I thought the first episode was fantastic. I know the second episode is going to be much shorter, but I still expect it to be pretty pithy with the Star Wars juice, baby. But there you have it, my thoughts and breakdown on some of the cool elements from episode 1 and a preview of some cool things I think we might get in episode 2. I will be doing a watch party for episode 2 this Friday early in the morning for the Nerdvengers. That's the members over on our live streaming channel. If you're interested in checking all of that out, head over to the live streaming channel or check out our Twitter or Discord for more information on that. And of course, let me know what you think about the Bad Batch episode 1 and what you're expecting for episode 2 and the future of the series in the comment section of this video. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.